Okay, hi everyone. This unit is the ACT, or Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, and the DBT, Dialectical Behavior Therapy unit. It's going to be probably, I don't know if the longest, but certainly one of the longer ones and one of the more important ones, along with the CBT and probably the brief therapies units. So your textbook lists both of these as sort of, excuse me, subsets of CBT, of cognitive behavioral therapy. Excuse me. Okay. And I don't think that that's a very accurate way to view it, and so I chose to put them in their own unit. However, you will see that there's a lot of similarities. So when you're I'll give you the overview of both of these therapy systems, and hopefully this video won't be too long to be manageable. We'll start with ACT, Acceptance Commitment Therapy. So it's an extremely popular therapy type, like CBT. I would say that these three are probably like the top. That most therapies are one of these three of ACT, DBT, and CBT. So ACT is very mindfulness-based. The traditional way to organize some of the ACT literature is called the hexaflex. This little hexagon that has these 6 principles of like mindfulness and cognitive diffusion. Some of the the sort of selfist context and the focus on values and sort of pivoting towards acting in accordance with your values is really central. So ACT does a lot of mindfulness meditation, and they do a lot of sort of being present in the moment, it's what you'd call a third wave cognitive therapy, and so it's I think you'll just have to experience it a little bit. And so we put in some experiential activities. Hopefully those are useful for you. I think the key elements to get out of ACT, if you don't remember much else, would be that sense of mindfulness and the sort of focus on the sort of calm, like sort of taking a step back, slowing down, letting go of the sort of labels and fear and things, and just sort of considering what your values are, and being kind and compassionate to yourself, and just sort of calmly moving towards the things that you value. So I don't know if that made sense or not. Hopefully it will make sense after you're done with the unit. There's a lot of metaphors that get used in it of the sort of that you are driving a bus, and your feelings are sort of passengers on this bus, and that you can sort of understand them and accept them without sort of panicking or swerving all over the place. But you also don't let them drive the bus, right? That you're in charge and in control, and that you have this sort of agency. And so I think that this philosophy resonates with a lot of people, and people really like the sort of ACT experience. And so I think it's important. This is a growing and already large area of psychotherapy that you should be aware of. The other half of the unit is the DBT half, Dialectical Behavior Therapy. Also a big name in psychotherapy. You do probably need to know that acronym. If you are talking to psychotherapists, I think this is one of the core ones to know. And so DBT is sort of split up into these 4 skills: this mindfulness, emotional regulation, the distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness. So the mindfulness part will, I think, be very similar to ACT. They share that. And some of the emotional regulation things will be very similar to CBT. You would say, oh, this is pretty much the same. And that's true. There's a lot of overlap. DBT is one of the stricter therapies in terms of like this is how you're supposed to do this therapy. It's you're supposed to go to like a sort of specific DBT clinic typically, and they'll have individual and group therapy, and they'll have it's a very organized process, unlike some other therapy types, and so some people really like that, and since it's so skill focused, there is a lot of emphasis on sort of empowering the client to be able to change things. It tends to be a little bit more long term. Usually it's 6 months to a year, and it's sort of every week, like very sort of maybe on the more intensive side, but it's very effective. So as are ACT and CBT, and DBT has a special link with borderline personality disorder, which is very hard to treat with anything else. And so while I don't usually put in a lot of diagnostic information in here, because that's not really the focus of this class, and I don't want to be too confusing with that, or hopefully misleading in some way. This is something to know, right? That if you are in a position where someone comes to you and they have borderline personality disorder, and they're like, what do I do? What therapy type will work best? This is one of those rare cases where there is like one right answer, and you say, yes, DBT is the best one for this. It's built for it. It was built specifically for borderline personality disorder. It happens to work for other things, but that's the reason why we go over that a little bit. And so there's a lot of activities in there that will sort of walk you through the different skills, and talking about exercising to regulate your emotion in the long term, or some mindfulness skills to regulate, to sort of just tolerate distress in the short term. Some of the, how to set boundaries in relationships, or how to communicate needs, or that sort of thing in the interpersonal effectiveness side. So you might find that this really resonates with you, or not. Each system of psychotherapy is sort of a philosophy, right? As I'm sure you've realized, and so I think as you're going through, you absorb what's useful and you to you, and what resonates with you, and you you don't need to accept anything wholesale on here, right? So reject what's not useful to you, right? Add what's your own. And so that's pretty much the overview of both of those. I don't think I left too many things out. I would schedule some significant time for this unit. It will take you a while, not only because there are several activities to do. There's, I think, at least one mindfulness sort of meditation thing that you'll have to do. So just be aware of that. I know that's kind of annoying, but it's, I think, important to have the experience. Otherwise, you won't really understand. You have to experience it, right, to understand it, and to know that it's hard. But I think also just a good experience to have in general. Anything else that you should know about this unit? Yeah, so set aside some time for this one. It will take you a while, but I think this will be fun, enjoyable, and really quite useful, educational for you. So thanks for taking the course as always, and enjoy the unit.